Welcome, everybody. My name's Simon Catt, joining from Arlington on Piccadilly in London. I want to thank my co-hosts for the webinar, Peter Gadsden from miningnetwork.co.uk, here with me in London, and Tim Sorensen in his office in Toronto. We have assembled a collection of Mexican precious metal mining developers and experts on politics and mining in Mexico. I would like to thank the two lawyers who are joining us, Pablo Mendez and Jose Jabalera, who are joining us live from Mexico. We've got 5 mining companies joining us, which were all except for one mentioned by Pierre Lassonde and Eric Sprott, who were kind enough to join us on April the 17th on our Gold the Real Thing webinar. We asked Eric and Pierre what their favorite precious metal ideas were, and they own 4 of the 5 companies here today. The 5th one they couldn't own because it wasn't yet listed or relisted on the Australian Stock Exchange. So I'd like to also thank the companies. We've got Discovery Silver, Mithril Resources, Prime Mining, Vizla Silver, and Helio Star Metals. First up, we're going to introduce Pablo Mendez. Pablo has been with his law firm in Chihuahua, EC Rubio, for 20 years this year. He's the president of the mining cluster, and we invite Pablo to tell us his thoughts on how the upcoming Mexican elections on June the 2nd will affect the regulatory and political environment for mining companies.
Thank you, Simon. Morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here. Well, I would like to start with this presentation. I would like to speak about the mining law reform that we suffered last year. As everybody knows, we've been through a hard 6 years, and well, it's been last year it's been approved a new mining reform that we call. It's been a reform for 4 laws: the mining law, the water law, the environmental law, and waste law. But as well, most of the companies know, we submit an amparo challenging those laws, and well, we are trying to throw down that law, especially because it's not favorable to the new companies, but not for the companies that are working right now. Most of those new regulations are to meeting more strict technical conditions to obtain new mining concessions, but also including some financial, environmental, and social obligations for the new title holders. Okay. And the government increase will clearly increase in the exploration stage. Also, the regulations that's being with those laws is not provided by it's not published, it's not provided by the authority yet. So that creates a more complicated space to work with, because we've been following the new law, but also we don't have the rules to follow that rule. So it's been complicated for us. Well, we as a legal firm, we have been submitted several amparo trials that has been favorably resolved in the federal court, right? But not enforced, and that includes that it's not enforceable, that new law. Okay, so that cover us for our clients who submit those amparos challenging that law to not follow that rules and that new laws. So that clearly help us a lot. Okay. Also the Congress, the opposite parties in the Congress submit unconstitutional trial against the mining law and the other laws, that claiming that the legislative process during its approval was not executed according to the law. So we're waiting to that resolution from the Supreme Court, and we expect that it will be favorable to the mining sector. So we expect that mining law will be thrown down by the Supreme Court. So it'll be everybody is gonna follow the past law. Well, also we hear in February that López Obrador start submitting to the Mexican Congress some amendments in different matters, but including different modifications also to the mining legal framework, but especially one that affect everybody in Mexico, and especially the 70% of the mines in Mexico that prohibits or forbidden the open pit mines. Obviously, the reform it's entitled also just for political purposes, but it is not going to be discussed or approved in the Congress because we already passed the time for the Congress. The Congress ends its period on April 30, so it will be passed, this initiative. So we don't have to worry about it. It's we're clear on that, and everybody knows that the 70% of the mining companies in Mexico are coming from the open pits mines. We have a political environment very complicated in Mexico. It's being the most violent political times in Mexico. Most of almost 30 political candidates in different positions have been murdered in this period of elections. So it creates a most violent times in Mexico for now. So it is not something that helps us in the mining sector or to bring some companies, but that also help us to say, well, the Morena party, it's not gonna win. We are very tired, not only the mining companies, but also the population in Mexico. Also, the president is being very active through the daily conference called Mañaneras, and he's trying to be involved in the election, but the INE is trying to stop him to give those daily conference. At least they give the INE, it's the authority that holds the election in Mexico. It's trying to stop him to well, at least publish those mañaneras in YouTube so everybody cannot see it. And as everybody knows, we have been also for two debates from the two candidates, and apparently 70% of the viewers claims that Xochitl Galvez wins or those debates. So that helps us a lot and give us a very good sense of what's going on in the June 2nd elections. So, well, at least I think this is going to change. This is not going to be only an election of the presidents, also the Congress. So the Congress election is very, very important in Mexico too. So we hope that everything is going to change, at least on the mining sector, or we'll have a new political history on the mining sector. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you very much for your comments. I would now like to introduce Jose Jabalera. Jose was General Director of Mining Development for the Federal Ministry of the Economy in Mexico between 2019 and 2022. He worked together with the government and mining companies and also has worked for the Mexican regulator Semarnat. Today, so Jose is presenting on behalf of Discovery Silver, who he also works with. Jose, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Buenos días. I'm Jose Jabalera, the VP Sustainability and Corporate Affairs for Discovery Silver. And if you can help me with the slide. We're in Discovery Silver. We own the 100% of the Cordero Silver project. Cordero is one of the largest undeveloped silver deposits, and it's located in Chihuahua, northern part of Mexico. And it's in a very active state for mining. And around Cordero, it's very close Parral, who is an historically mine town. Since the 16th, are been a lot of mining activity. It's based also Parral is located was founded because of La Prieta mine in that area. Right now it's around Parral. It's a lot of some other companies, someone exploring, and two big companies, Grupo Mexico and Fresco, with operations around there. So it's very it's great population around there, very pro mining. Well, in mining in all the times, a lot of suppliers around this area. Also, we published last February, we published our feasibility study, where is the next major silver producer in Mexico and some of the largest in the world, with a large scale production of 37 million ounces of silver equivalent annually, and with excellent profitability, with average of, I think, more than $12.5 of ounces, with exceptional economics, MVP with 1.2 billion in growth to over 2 billion in year 4, because with the expansion with 1.2 you will be in 4 with 2 in the next years. Low capital intensive, because we reduced the initial capital to the staging, sizing of the process plant, 25,000, 26,000 at 26,000 at the beginning, and then double that to 51,000 tons per day plant. And this send you a long mine life, 19 years, with a clear extension potential. Is just a natural throwback in the pit. It depends on the prices and condition in the next years. And as I said, it's located in a very good area. We are in a very flat land. It's not big mountains around that. Very like we own the property. Where is the project? We already own that. We are very good relation with the neighbors. There is just one ejido around us, and the other are cattlemen around there. It is very favorable for us, and very close to Parral, who is a big mining town around Chihuahua, and a very good relations with the authorities in the municipality of Parral, with the authorities of the state. Also a very, very good state. At the governor in Chihuahua, she is very pro business, pro mining. She's been very, very helpful for all the topics in mining. But we know that all the legislation and the regulators are from federal level, but in the state we got very good support where are they, and we already submit our EIA, our MIA, in last August. We are in the process of the evaluation, and we were expecting to have. We know that right now it's in elections and tough time, but we are expecting to have a response later this year or at the end of the year. So we are planning also to submit our change of land use in the next quarter, and all of these things will lead us to construction decision in the first half of 2025. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Jose. Our next guest is John Skeet, CEO of Mithril Resources. Thank you, John.
So Mithril has been working in the Copperkin district in Durango State in the Sierra Madre trend since the middle of 2020, and very quickly got onto a very good part of the district where there had been some previously drilling had been done some years previously, and put out a very high grade maiden JORC resource, which has since been converted to 43-101 standard. And what's unique about the Copperkin district is it's a silver district like many of the other districts throughout the Sierra Madre trend. It probably was developed historically quite a bit later than some of the other ones, about 1850. Hasn't received much in the way of modern exploration, but what we've seen with all the historic mines and workings that are prevalent all over the district is that the gold grades relative to the silver are quite high, and that makes it very attractive in boosting the grade there of the resources that we currently have. And as we continue to do the exploration throughout the district, we've already got eyes on other targets similar to what we already have there with a high-grade resource, which we're looking to double in the short term. And there's probably at least another 2, maybe 3 other similar types of deposits in the district that's sort of been indicated by all the historic mines and workings throughout the district, plus the groundwork that we've done to date. So we're the only company on the Australian Stock Exchange with a Mexico focus. We've board and management has been in a similar position before with other Aussie listed companies with a Mexico focus. Probably the most notable of those was Bonnie's Gold with Palmarejo, and which we started drilling, had no previous drilling, and within 3 years we had about 3 million ounces gold equivalent. We got the authority to mine, and we were halfway through the construction there, and where we had a few offers to acquire the company, and eventually it was taken over by Core in 2007 for $1.1 billion. So that was a good experience for us in that seeing how getting the property dual listed on ASX and TSXV was a big step change for that, in getting the interest and the funding that was required for that. It was a perfect storm as well in terms of the gold price going up, a mining boom, and managed to get it all done before the GFC hit. So it was very fortunate in that regard. But having gone through that process, we can see it's the same sort of thing with Copperkin. It's a very similar property to Palmarejo. When I first saw the similarities there. Main difference is it's got much higher gold grades relative to the silver. But we've gone through a restructuring of Mithril throughout the first few months of this year, and we're looking to get recommence trading here on ASX. And once that's done, we will continue to progress a planned dual listing on TSXV, so we can get this into the 2 markets there and get the type of investors that understand this and can really sort of move this along with the funding that's required to do the amount of exploration that this district deserves. So we've got a drill program planned with the new funding that's come in, and we expect to kick that off within the next few weeks, and it'll be a very high impact exploration program with mainly around the high grade resource, but looking to expand that considerably along strike and at depth.
Thank you, John. Our next guest is Scott Hicks from Prime Mining. Scott, thank you.
Yes, Simon, thank you very much. Thanks to you, Tim, and others for organizing this webinar, and certainly thank you very much for including Prime Mining in the discussion. It was great, and thank you to Pierre for supporting Prime on that great call that you guys hosted the other week. So thank you very much for that. Prime Mining it's at a very exciting stage in development. It's still in the resource development stage. It's a high-grade gold silvery discovery. Prime Mining acquired the property a couple of years ago. Minera Alamos had an option on the property. It was Vizla's at the time. When Prime first acquired the property, they put out a resource statement. It had just over 1 million gold equivalent ounces at the time. And over the following 2 years, 110,000 meters of drilling, Prime added well over 1 million gold equivalent ounces, increased the confidence and grade in that resource estimate. That culminated in an early 2023 resource update. In that update, we published 2.2 million gold equivalent ounces. It was open pit. It was supported by a heap leach and milling operation. And one key highlight of that resource, especially as we're talking today in the political context of open pit mining, underground mining, what's really key is not just the confidence in that report, but the grade. So one key highlight from that resource is we had over 1.3 million gold equivalent ounces at an average grade of 2.44 grams per ton, again, gold equivalent. And that's open pit through a mill, already at the indicated level of study. Since then, Prime's been working hard. Last year, we drilled almost 60,000 meters. This year, we're about halfway through a 40,000 meter drill program that we'll reevaluate mid-year. The resources, the three main trends, they remain open in almost every direction, including at depth. So we're putting a little bit of emphasis, given the grades that we're seeing. Again, 2.44 grams per ton gold equivalent for an open pit resource is incredible. We've got 5 by 5 by 5 blocks that are coming in at 10 grams per ton gold equivalent or higher. So we're looking a little bit through our exploration and certainly through some of our technical work at underground potential. One thing that does definitely also set Prime Mining apart is we've got an excellent exploration team on the ground. I like to say it's one of the best that I've worked with in my career. We follow the success-based drilling program where we make sure that every meter counts. Our advisors and team do a lot of 3D geological modeling, make sure that every drill hole, every meter is hopefully going to contribute economic ounces. In terms of executive management, most of us come from senior gold and senior base metals companies such as Newmont, Kinross Gold, IM Gold, Teck. So we've got some really good bench strength in terms of leadership as well, across technical, project development, project study, but also capital markets. So lots going on. We're well funded. We started the year with well over 30 million Canadian. That will get us funded through mid-2025. We've got some in-the-money warrants that could contribute up to about 20 million more to our treasury. So at the highest level, if we start pushing beyond exploration into project study, and we've started some of that technical de-risking, but if we really go pedal to the floor here, we like to think that we are well funded through construction decision, or at least late stage technical and engineering work. So Prime Mining, we have to say we love where we are in the Lassonde curve. We're creating significant value through exploration currently, this really good high-grade open resource. It's about 70% gold, 30% silver, so it attracts gold bugs. It also attracts a lot of silver proponents. Excellent team, well-funded. I think we're at a very exciting crossroads for the Los Reyes property here. So thanks again for having us.
Scott, many thanks. Next up, we are welcoming Michael Connett, the CEO of Vizla Silver.
Well, thank you, Simon, Tim, and I'll echo Scott's comments there. Thank you to the organizers. Appreciate being included here. So Vizla Silver, we're listed in Canada and the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker VZLA. And we're building Mexico's next large high-grade silver producer. We have a big vision and a big goal. Vizla has the largest undeveloped high-grade silver primary resource, and our goal is to become the 10th billion-ounce silver district in Mexico and to rapidly become one of the world's largest single-asset silver primary producers. We have something very special here with this project. It offers an incredible opportunity for us to move very rapidly due to its infrastructure and past producing history into production here and become a very meaningful producer of high-grade silver. We own the project 100%. We control a very large land package here of highly prospective land in the region. And the land that we have, has analogs to San Dimas. We think that San Dimas is a clear example of what can happen with these types of districts here. San Dimas has produced over 600 million ounces of silver and 11 million ounces of gold. So really an incredible producer. And it's about 80 kilometers away to the north. We have district scale upside here. This is a true silver district. It dates back to the 1500s to the Spanish. We're the first company in modern history to consolidate and then systematically explore this district. And we just added another 10,000 hectares to the south a few weeks ago, and another district about 30 kilometers to the north that sits equidistant between San Dimas and Panuco. So, we think that there's nowhere better in the world to be exploring for silver than this Panuco San Dimas trend. And so we're the dominant landholder and operator in this space here. And we see a huge amount of upside there. And we're thrilled about the fact that this is truly a sidewalk mining project. We have some incredible people on our team and on our board, including Eduardo Luna. Eduardo, a Mexican mining legend who spent many, many years with San Dimas. when he came down to the project, first remark was, this is the sidewalk San Dimas. So, it's on the side of the highway, 40D, which is an incredible toll road that they've built through the mountains. There's another road, the 40 highway, that also gives us incredible access here. So in the 5 years that we've been operating in this district, we've drilled now at the end of the year, it'll be about 400,000 meters of diamond drilling. We did that without ever having to build our own road. That gives you an idea of the infrastructure here. Of course, that translates into savings into CapEx, and we suspect that this is going to be a very low CapEx, but have a very strong NPV to CapEx ratio, due in large part to the simplicity, the fact that the veins are close to surface, if not at surface. We suspect this is one of those very rapid paying back opportunities here in the mining space. And as part of that, we're planning a PEA mid-2024. We have been permitted for a test mine, and we do go into that in the fall. Now, I should add too, we're the only company that I'm aware of, at least in Mexico, that's offering shareholders free exposure to the royalty over this entire district here. So later this year, we're planning on spinning out a royalty company very similar to Great Bear Royalties, and it's a unique opportunity. I can't think the last time anyone would have exposure to, retail shareholders would have exposure to a royalty like this here on the property. So we're thrilled about that. So it's a very exciting year for us. The project itself is incredible. The team is working very hard to unlock value here, and we're moving very rapidly towards becoming Mexico's next large high-grade silver producer.
Amazing. Thank you, Michael. Our final corporate speaker, we'd like to welcome Charles Funk of Helio Star.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you everyone for hosting the webinar. Taking a slightly different approach to presenting the opportunity than some of the other presenters today. So Helio Star acquired the Ana Paula project at the beginning of last year. It has a number of very significant advantages. It's had over $100 million invested into the project. Critically, in this environment, it has its open pit mining permit, so a very unique differentiator, and is the reason why we believe that Ana Paula will be the next large-scale precious metals mine built in Mexico. And so we bought it at the beginning of last year for $10 million down and ultimately $30 million paying cents in the dollar of what's been invested, or the asset sold for over $100 million before as well. And we have a view that this makes much more economic sense as a high-grade underground gold mine. And so we spent all of last year rescoping the project to our view of Ana Paula as a high-grade underground. And then it's interesting timing for us for the webinar. Yesterday, we just announced a financing solution, which will allow us to complete the decline at Ana Paula and complete test mining of a bulk sample, which we think can ultimately bring forward commercial production of Ana Paula. And to try and explain the impact of that, we've put up a version of the Lassonde curve and the challenges that face and some of the impacts that we can mitigate with Ana Paula. And so we're all familiar with the grey dashed line of the Lassonde curve, where you get the initial rise through discovery into resource, and then you go into, it's got different names, but the Valley of Depression most commonly, which I think is getting longer and longer as it takes longer to do the technical studies and to get your permits to go into construction. And so there's two differentiators that we see for the Helio Star path. The first comes down to dilution. If you look at single asset producers trying to survive through the Valley of Depression, they on average double their share count from maiden resource into definitive feasibility study, and they triple their share count from maiden resource to production, or some not even at that point yet. So bridging the Valley of Depression is typically a hugely dilutive process. And what's unique about the debt financing, the $20 million US debt financing that we entered into yesterday, is we can complete the decline, go into test mining on a bulk sample, and have the potential to roll that into steady state production with a permit modification going forward. And so that means we can get to the production re-rating and ultimately the larger scale mine production with a significantly reduced amount of dilution than our peer groups typically received. The other factor is, of course, the time value of money. I think management teams too readily give up time. And in comparison, if you build the exact same mine, whatever mine you have in mind, in 3 years, as opposed to building it in 10 years. In the NPV8 environment, it's worth twice as much. So if you look at the combination of building your mine much quicker, we've got a 3-year timeline to the large-scale production scenario, and not issuing the shares to get there, that's a 4 times share outperformance from the peer group. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want as shareholders. We want to own more of the project that get into production, because we get a better return on our investment. And so Ana Paula is fundamentally unique in that perspective. It's the fastest, we believe, of our peer group to production, both small or large scale on either metric. We've got a 60-meter wide ore body, averaging 6.6 grams in the M&I and 4.5 in the inferred, a 770,000 M&I resource and another 450,000 inferred resource. It's got a lot more growth to come. We believe we can grow that well over 1.5 million ounces with a follow-up drill program. We're completing a PEA at the moment, and we'll move to the feasibility study to reach a construction decision on the large-scale mine at the end of last year. But yesterday's announcement is very unique now that we have the funding in place to take Ana Paula in to complete the bulk sample and potentially then to move to steady state production on a pretty significant production basis. So we're really excited that we have the next large gold mine in Mexico, that we know we can continue to add ounces to an exceptional gold ore body.
Charles, thank you. That Lassonde curve reminds me of what Pierre, I think, referred to as the killing fields in our Gold the Real Thing webinar 2 or 3 weeks ago. With that, we're now going to invite the panelists to ask questions of each other, and in due course, Tim Sorensen, my co-host, and I will take questions from the live Zoom audience. Maybe to get started, I'm going to ask a question which could apply to anybody. What do the upcoming June the 2nd elections in Mexico mean for your company and mean for mining in Mexico?
I think, as a mining company in Mexico, you have to operate, under various different challenges, and, a changing political dynamic can cause challenges, and it can cause opportunities. We're confident that the project that we have would be permitted in this regime. Currently, we've received underground test mine permits recently for our core areas of our resource. But I suspect that industry sentiment, investor sentiment towards Mexico is probably at its low point, or probably was a few months ago, the lowest that it has been in a long time. And I suspect that bear market in Mexico sentiment is over, and it's going to continue to improve. So I'm more bullish about Mexico than I've been in a number of years in the past, and I'm thinking it's going to be an exciting time for us here.
Yeah, I think so, Michael. And building on what you're saying, I do agree. And I think you can see that in our NAV multiples. I think even through last fall, the uncertainty of some of AMLO's political statements and the uncertainty certainly hurt. I think some of that uncertainty carries into the June 2nd election. In my opinion, regardless of the outcome, regardless of who wins, a simple majority going either way should remove the uncertainty of the election process, if you will, from a lot of investors' minds. And I think that will be extremely beneficial. Just check a box, allow people to focus on political platforms instead of what's happening with the election. Stepping back and looking at this big picture for a moment, it was interesting. The other day, I had lunch and was discussing this at lunch with somebody who we were looking at the title. So just to be provocative, the Mexico welcomes back mining. And this person pointed out, it's interesting, Mexico never made mining unwelcome. And I think that's a really important perspective, is that while political grandstanding, specifically around open pit permits most recently, has gotten a lot of headlines and gotten a lot of attention, and I think that's really what AMLO was looking for in the process, was to grab headlines, to get political attention. On the ground itself, we've seen a lot of permits continue to flow. And I think as an industry, we'd like to see them come up faster, but even potentially contentious tailings expansion permits, in-pit tailings permits. We've seen those coming through for companies. So For us, the general overall feeling, let's say, is that Mexico did not make mining feel unwelcome. I think its reputation has gotten a little bit ahead of itself, and certainly a prime. We're looking forward to having the elections behind us one way or another, so that people can focus on, okay, what is really behind political messaging and how many good things are still coming in Mexico. Mexico remains open for business. There's still, it's a great place to do business. And I think the final thing on that note, that sometimes gets lost as well in the media, in this generalization, way too broad a brush on Latin America. At the beginning, Pablo mentioned the Amparo process. Prime successfully was challenging the new mining reforms, and the courts upheld, voted, well, basically found in favor of our Amparos, both for the Los Reyes permit as well as for the land, large organic growth potential that Prime has, the El Rey claim that we have immediately to the east of our property. So the courts continue to uphold business and mining specifically in Mexico, and I think that is unique to Mexico. So again, feel that Mexico is a great place to be mining.
Yeah, I wanted to actually, thanks for that, Scott. I thought that was well said. I wanted to go back to Jose or Pablo with questions to get people to understand this. You've got a Supreme Court resolution coming up. Want to give people an idea on the timing of that, and the elections. And I think it was clearly stated that, you know, there isn't going to be a majority in Congress to change the mining law anyways. Is the feeling these days, even if somebody wanted to. But maybe just give investors a little more clarity on how you see that those 2 points coming together in the next few months.
Yes, I completely agree with Scott, but also regarding your comment, Tim. Yes, we're pretty sure, 100%, 99% that this law will be thrown down by the Supreme Court, even though each company has its own amparo, but this law it's completely unconstitutional. So the Supreme Court will throw it down. We're pretty sure before November. So as you mentioned, the courts are being very strong in Mexico, and we have a very strong legal system. So at least on that part, we've been this 6 years completely or 100% protected with the courts. Okay, and also if that new laws from the past year, it's going to be thrown down. Well, it's going to be very complicated for the new Congress to change whatever we had in the past. So we will continue with this past law, or at least it will be just a few changes only on technical matters, and it will affect anything on the mining that we have been developing in Mexico. I don't know, Jose, if you agree on that.
Yeah, I agree. Like we are, well, it's the strong system in Mexico still. The president is one of the part, but the legislator, deputies and senators is the other part, and the Supreme Court is the other part. So it's been working, all the things. So we hope that continue that way to get the rule of law for that things. And also we are seeing, like, for the elections, like the candidates are being talking a lot of focus on renewable energies, energy transition, nearshoring for Mexico and things like that. So all of those topics lead to the mining sector. You will need mining, you will need metals and things like that in order to get all the demand for these things. We are in the silver, mainly silver sector, who's a main product for solar panels, for electricity technology, things like that. So we are in that part, and they agree. I'm seeing even the Morena candidate nor as radical, if it's a name, for like the Amlo team and things like that. So I think that it will be a change with the elections, and I'm hopefully will be very favorable for mine.
I will add something else that everybody thinks, well, at least outside of Mexico, that if Morena party wins, everything will remain the same. No, I would like to say no. She won't follow AMLO's politics. We have a saying in Mexico: the presidential chair, it's very powerful. So once you are sitting there, you are the boss. So we are pretty sure that she won't follow AMLO's policies. She will be the only one who directs whatever she wants. So everyone, she will put behind AMLO's policies one way or another. The presidential power is very, very strong in Mexico. So the chair, it's change everything. So she will not follow, even if the case she wins, she will not follow AMLO's policies.
I think one of the interesting insights that was shared with us earlier is, the Morena party is currently the favourite to win the election, and the new candidate was most recently the mayor of Mexico City, and comes with a lot stronger governance background. So one of the interesting insights is, regardless of political ideologies, I think you can expect a much better functioning public service to support that candidate, which I think we all want in the mining sector as we submit our permits and we are subject to the rule of law that's being discussed. So that was an interesting side presented to us, regardless of your politics, that just a more streamlined, better functioning public services in every industry's interest in Mexico.
Yesterday it was a Congress for the Mexican Chamber of Congress, and the Mexican Chamber of Business in Mexico, and Xochitl, the other candidate for the PAN, was there, and she made a statement that she will support sustainable mining. So we have the other confidence part. If she wins, we all know that she will support 100% on mining. And the other side, Morena or Claudia Sheinbaum, she's a scientific, so she's very aware of how mining will increase all the new transition for the electronic side of Mexico.
Does it matter for miners whether Xochitl or Claudia, the Moreno party candidate, win the election?
Well, in our sector in Mexico, we will love that Xochitl wins. It will be, we think that it'll be better because she's more pro-business. But if Claudia wins, it's not very worried about it, because, as I mentioned, she will be pro-business also. We saw, as Charles said, in Mexico City, she was the former major in Mexico City, and anything changes. So she's pro-business also, and it'll be a good times for Mexico are coming.
Yeah, I think that we need to be very institutional, and whatever it wants can be. We need to follow the path for very strong, sustainable, very companies that meet all the requirements, go above the requirements, meet the international standards, and things like that, to be attractive for the government, not to cause problem or polemic around that, because also a lot of projects will be for more than 6 years. There is the presidential period, will be for many years around here, and we need to follow and have very strong basis with the environmental, with communities, with social, with government, and everything like that. So we need to be very strong and confident about our process, and then go and be attractive for the government.
And Jose, you have a unique position because you used to work for Semanat, the Mexican regulator. Now you work for Discovery Silver, and you'll actually be applying for a new open pit mine permit with the new administration, whomever that is, in the first half of next year. Is that correct?
I used to work for Minister of Economy and in the mining sector, in the mining office, and now we'll pass that process, and now we're dealing with this process. Our MIA process or EIA process it's going on It's in time. This in a technical evaluation. We hope to complete that process and have a resolution. We know that these days, because of elections and things like that, they are very slowed down the process inside of Semarnat and inside of all of the government offices. But we're very confident that the process of the approval will continue, and we are followed to be a strong or very technical evaluation. What it is environmental impact assessment will be a technical evaluation of our project. So we're confident to get that, because it's a very strong and very well made our impact MIA.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Maybe a question, John Skeet. Given that you've been working in Mexico for, I think, some 20 years or so, previously Palmarejo Bolognesi and now Mithril Resources, how have you seen things change in terms of getting business done on the ground in Mexico over that tenure? And how do you see things changing after the elections?
Yeah, well, I've gone through the environmental authority process a couple of times in Mexico, and in both those times, it was a very clear process in terms of what was required and what studies were required, what norms were needed to be, everything needed to comply with, plus the time frame to get it done. So it was a clear time frame when the authority would consider the information that was submitted, and then if more information was required, the clock was stopped, and then it was up to the company to provide that additional information, and then the clock was started again. And in both cases, the authority provided gave the outcome and the positive resolution, within the time frame that they promised from the start. So quite different to how projects that I've done in Australia, where it's been quite open-ended and can go on for many years without any real clear time frame to when you get the outcome. So, and really, everything we've done up until now has been very similar. We've had very it's been a streamlined and clear process to go through. And if there are improvements or changes to the regulations, I mean, there's no problems with that. We just want to know what they are and have time to consider them and have certainty about what's going to be required in the future. So all that's really happened over the last few years is we've managed to work through things okay, what we've had to do, but there's just this uncertainty just by commentary that's not really, and then it's misreported in the media. And that causes the uncertainty that no one likes to see in the mining sector.
Right. A question coming in from the audience for Jose or Pablo: will mining permits resume or accelerate between the election of the president and then the newly appointed ministers and agency heads, etc., which he understands take office in September? So, Jose or Pablo, do you think, how quickly can permitting restart after the elections?
Well, we don't know. I don't know, Pablo, but normally the elections will slow down because there's many other things. The next president will take place the 1st of October this year, and she will name her minister or her secretaries for economy, Semarnat, and everything like that, and they will follow the teams. But also the transition is called transition here, transition time to one team and then the other will start around August, 1st of August, around that, July, end of July, August will start the transition time when they will start to pass all the offices through the new team. So we will see the elected president the June 2nd, June 3rd. We'll have a very good idea, and in that month, June, I think between June, she will name her team, and then the start transitions. Maybe can slow down the process because it's an overload of work around the government office because they need to make this all the paperwork to give to the new team and all the topics, but should be restarted just when the new team arrives and set the new politics around the elected president.
Gotcha. Thank you, Jose. And a follow-up question for Jose and Pablo. Does it matter which American president is elected in November in the United States, whether it's Biden or Trump, in terms of doing business Mexico as part of NAFTA with North America?
Well, no, I don't think so. It affects us. I think we are always connected, and we're neighbors, and we have a lot of business together between the United States and Mexico. But I don't think it will affect any relations. Depends of who wins. We in the past we had a little bit scare about Donald Trump in the relations with Mexico. We saw that everything's went well when he was president, so we don't see any problems on who wins or any issues if one or the other wins.
Gotcha.
I think Simon, to add to that, pound for pound, if you had to start the permitted project in Mexico or the US today, I think I'd take Mexico.
Right.
11 times out of 10 to get started from production. And if you want to look at political environment for permitting.
Yeah, point well made, Charles. What permits do you need to get? If I think on your slide, Charles, you said that you'd be the next mine into production in Mexico, if I understood correctly. What do you need additional permits before you can start digging things up?
Depends on your technicality of digging things up. So we can complete the decline that we have and undertake a bulk sampling process. We ultimately want to reduce our footprint. We don't want to dig the open pit. I'm jumping the gun, but it's a probability that we move to a smaller dry stack tailings facility with a smaller environmental footprint. So our request is actually to reduce our total environmental footprint when we submit a MIA modification. So yes, for the large scale mine, we will need to make a permit modification, but our request is actually to make a smaller impact. And as been touched on, I know of at least 8 similar MIA modifications that have been granted in Mexico in the last 18 months, including the Media Luna underground 20 kilometers away from us. So we'll look for that modification, but it's a fortunate circumstance for us is that we're going with the political tide, which makes our life a bit easier.
And will you apply for that modification, Charles, before or after the elections?
After the election, mostly around the engineering work we have to do. But I think we all agree here there's not a lot of point putting permits in before October, just given that everything's effectively in hiatus over the election period.
Got it. And reflecting for a question for the mining companies, maybe Scott, start with you. When we think of what Pierre Lassonde and Eric Sprott said, I think they own 4 out of 5 of the companies here. What is it that Eric and Pierre want you to do in terms of the company as important shareholders?
Yeah, Simon. So certainly there's a lot there, I think, in the context of what we're discussing today. One thing they certainly want us to do is maintain our social license to operate. So when you peel back federal politics, on the ground, it's important that we're partnering well. We're looking at best environmental practices and all those kinds of things. And what that means for Prime is under social license to operate, we have a 30-year agreement already established with the Ejido. It's got set payments through our current exploration process, but also through building and construction. And then similarly, we've got a pretty good water situation on site. We're helping the local community with water. There is plenty to go around, both for exploration and for the communities. We're certainly not competing for water, good road access and good power. So one thing they'd want us to focus on first and foremost is social license and reputation. In terms of the project itself, we are in the fortunate position that we still have a fair amount of exploration ahead of us. So we can learn from our peers, we can learn from the other people on the panel today, and we can adjust accordingly. So with our grades, we're certainly trying to figure out how much underground mining may play a part of this. Do we start underground, later look to go open pit? We'll figure out what's best economically speaking, and then we'll figure out what works from a political and environmental perspective. In terms of permitting, we're working very closely with SEMA, a very well-regarded group down there. We've done all of our environmental baseline study work already. We're a low sulfidation project. Nonetheless, we're evaluating dry stack tailings as well. So we're looking to see what best practices we can employ, so we make sure we carry those all the way through our engineering process. So at the end of the day, we're focused on social community. We're also focused on grade of deposit that really opens up optionality for eventual development. And it's very much in line with shareholder value creation. So fortunately, again, those are all very much aligned.
Thank you, Scott.
Sorry, Simon, I know we're running short on time. I wanted to ask Mike one question. Do you mind if I jump in?
Of course.
Mike, you talked about this royalty, which is unique. Can you give us an idea of, the scale of production that you're contemplating at Vizla, what the percentage of royalty that you're going to spin out, and, maybe even in your mind, you were talking about moving quickly, when you expect to start producing from Panuco?
Well, we have, and also Simon, kind of to answer your question too, I think, Eric Sprott's a shareholder of ours because, fundamentally he wants our share price to go up and make money. And I think that I often say this, I think we're criminally undervalued. And I think, the probability of our share price going up and creating value for our shareholders is very high. So, and it comes down to our project. We have the world's largest undeveloped high-grade silver resource. It can have a very large production profile. Michael Gray, an analyst at Agentis, puts us somewhere between the 8th and the 3rd largest single silver primary producer. So I think we can achieve a rate of about 20 million ounces of silver equivalent a year. That would be about 60-40 silver gold. No base metals. We're contemplating a doré product at the end. This is truly a precious metals mine here, and it would be a very large one, all underground, of course. We're expecting that we can achieve production, aggressively. Right now, we think it's possible in 2027.
And sorry, how big is the royalty that you're talking about on that?
Pardon me. Yeah, the royalty is a 2% royalty across the district.
Awesome. Thank you.
Gentlemen, we're just coming up to the hour, so I'm going to ask each of the companies in the same order that we started in to sum up in a sentence what they think is unique value proposition for each of their companies. And before I do that, I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of Peter Gadsden, Tim Sorensen, and I for joining us today. Over to you, Jose. How would you sum up the value proposition for Discovery Silver in a sentence or two, and then we'll go down the list for the other companies. Thank you.
Thanks. We're a very large-scale project in a very good jurisdiction in Chihuahua, and we are very de-risking the project with land, water. We got all those things and very strong community relations.
Thank you, John Skeet, Mithril Resources.
Very, very high grade, gold and silver only. So it's very straightforward and simple. It will produce a doré product sold straight into the market. There's no ejidos there. We have very good community relations. We treat the locals there as if they are a registered community. We have very good relations with all stakeholders there, and we've got considerable scope to increase the resources there and the scale of the project over the next couple of years.
Thank you, John. Scott Hicks, Prime Mining.
Yeah, thanks again, Simon. First and foremost, our asset, several million ounces gold equivalent already, runway potentially to double that again with excellent grades, great optionality on that, followed up by an incredibly experienced team and strong funding. So all the key ingredients to make Prime Mining a very successful company. And thanks again for including us.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for joining. Michael Connett, Vizla Silver.
Well, Vizla, is a unique company in the sense that we have 100% ownership of a very large, potentially billion-ounce high-grade silver district here. And so we're the company that's unlocking it. We have a very strong team. We're well-funded. We have about $40 million in the bank. And we look to create value for shareholders. And as I said, I think that we're criminally undervalued.
Thank you, Michael. And last but not least, Helio Star Metals, Charles Funk.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. So in context of this, I think we're really grateful that we're in Mexico. We've found it a great jurisdiction to work in more broadly. We have a very wide, very high-grade ore body that's unique. It's not a vein system. It's not a nuggety system. It's ultimately, we believe, going to be very high-margin material that we'll mine. And this week, we just secured the financing that takes us into the production scenario and the re-rate that comes from which is unique amongst our peer group. We believe that we're building the next large-scale mine, either gold or silver, in Mexico.
Thank you, Charles. And with that, gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to share the YouTube video link of the webinar, and thank you, everybody, for your attendance.